Hey, it's Steph. It's a little later in the day than I usually do this. I've got all the lights on in the house to give it some light. Alright, now here's the deal. I can hear everything outside. I'm not used to that. I bought a house and it's in a neighborhood that's just active as can be, and I can hear everything. And I came from a place where it was a lot of elderly people and it was very quiet. So, I've gotten used to it, but it's different, I gotta admit. Okay, now here's the deal. Tomorrow is the second anniversary of my son's death. And I like to refer to it as his passing, his transitioning. I'm going through a tough time right now. That's why all the pictures, I can't seem to find the right profile picture on Google Plus. I'm really going through, I've got headaches that are like out of control right now. I've got tears coming out of my eyes and I'm not even crying. Of course, some of that's from the challenges that I live in, which some people would call being disabled, but I prefer to call it being challenged. I know that I don't look it. I know that. But you cannot judge this by appearances. You cannot do that. Goodness, I have a bug in here. Hey, down here in the south, the bugs are out, okay? Alright, look. I want to talk about something that I think is extremely spiritually important, okay? These children, okay? There's Matt when he was young. Yeah, there he is. He's looking at one of our many animals. I used to have a lot of animals in our house, believe me. You know, I love this picture. I don't know if you can see it, but my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter, who is, by the way, 15 years old now, she's smiling at her grandma. She's smiling. She's a tiny little thing, and she's just smiling away. She loves her grandma, and she still does to this day. I don't get to see my grandchildren very much, but they love their grandma. Here's Matt when we lived in Texas. Yep, Mr. Matt. I was pregnant with his sister at the time. And here's Rachel. She didn't like this picture, let me tell you. No smiles on this one. Well, that was my daughter. I have another one of no smiles, but we won't show that one. Here's Matt with me. Yep, drinking on the bottle, waiting for Mama to get up. Matt was an early bird, shall we say. Now, Rachel, she was not an early bird, which kind of worked out good for me about a month ago. Let's see, almost a month ago, she and I did something very special. I'm going to get into that here. Now, just to break it a little bit, here's me with my bike, my motorcycle. And that was before I had completely quit working, um, retired, I like to say, but I was still challenged, very much so. I had not had my final spinal operation yet. And when I had that, I had a stroke. And then a few years later, I had a brain aneurysm. It didn't kill me, which was a miracle, but it was bad. It was very bad. It was almost 5 years ago, and I have seizures today. Not every single night, but I always know when I have a pretty bad seizure. I really do. This picture is my son playing video games, Matt, and he's giving me the evil eye because I'm taking a picture of him, and he's busy. Now, this is, whoops, here we go. This is my family. My mother is sitting back by me. That's when she used to get her hair done every week, and oh God, I prayed to her. I prayed for her to stop doing that, and finally she did. I told her, I said, Mom, go natural. You're much more beautiful that way. And sure enough, she did, and she was, believe me. And even today, in the condition that she's in, she's still beautiful. And there's Matt and Rachel, two of my children, and my father's there, but you can kind of not, he's being kind of hidden by my son, Matt. This was a special deal. One of the grandchildren, and for my mother, it was great-grandchildren, and my dad. I can't remember. Oh, yeah, it was a blessing. At their church, they did what they call a blessing, okay? This is one of my favorite pictures of me and my daughter when she was just a teeny tiny little baby. And believe me, she was a teeny tiny baby. And I wasn't actually breastfeeding her, but we wanted to get a picture, that made it look like I was. It's just a very special picture, and it's all torn up. And I've got it online, but I don't want to lose it, not ever. Okay, here's Matt and Rachel with their wonderful little dogs that they loved. Yep, we were an animal family, let me tell you. Here's Matt, happy as can be. He was such a happy little boy, let me tell you. And here's Rachel with our favorite animals of all times, Princess and Blackie. Princess, the golden dog, was the mother of Blackie. Yep, we had a dog that used to sneak under our fence, and twice she impregnated our dog, Princess. It was a real problem, but we got rid of that situation pretty quick. Now, I love this picture. I put it online. It's called, my daughter took it. She really is an excellent photographer. It's called Sisters for Life. And I hope that they are. I really do. I'm going to tell you some things about Matt, all right? Matt would do things that were really smart. He was something else. He had me figured out, okay? When I raised my children, when they were young, I think I was a pretty cool mom. I really do. Because I worked at night, and that enabled me to be around the important times for them. But I made some mistakes, don't we all? I don't think there's any way you can learn to be a parent. I just don't. I think you have to follow your heart on this deal. But I do know a few things. One is that what your parents did may not work for you. Not at all. What my parents did, I'm not going to say it was bad. I'm not going to put it down. But I definitely know that it was not the right thing for my children. Now, my daughter has 3 girls. I've shown you those pictures. And I can tell you right now that she doesn't raise her children like I raised them. She was very fortunate. She found a husband that could work and support her. And she does work, but it's at night, and like what I did. Only my night work went deep into the morning, so it was, oh boy, getting up early in the morning was really tough on me, but I did it. I have a vision about our world today, but that vision lies with what we're doing with our children. You know, it's going to be, in my mind, it's going to be several generations from now before we have not utopia, but maybe a better world. Maybe a world where we know or we understand what is truly important. Now, what do I mean by that? Maybe working your butt off and making a lot of money isn't the answer. Maybe our children are more the answer. Ever think about that? Ever feel like, oh boy, if I didn't have the kids, I could do this? I did. I know a lot of parents have, and don't try to lie about it. I know darn well you've probably done that. At some point in raising your children, I know you did that. So don't tell me you didn't. But the good news is that we know how much we love those children. And so then we go, okay, well, I'm glad they're here. Thank you, my Creator. Thank you. I am grateful. Okay, I want to read you something. This is from Matt. Yeah. You know, Matt was really smart when it came to me. He would write me letters to get me ready for talks that he wanted to have with me. Okay? Now, why would he do that? Well, I'm going to tell you why. I don't know if this has anything to do with my personality or the way I was back then. I don't know if it does. I came from an Irish father and a Shawnee mother. I had a bit of a temper, okay? Some people might tell you, wow, did she have a temper? Okay. But what Matt did was extremely smart. He would put these underneath my door. like in the morning when I was getting ready to go to work. And then I would read it later in the day, and I'd chuckle to myself, thinking, boy, he is something else, you know. What a special human being he was. All kids are. All of them are. But he really was. He was so wise and so smart. But I'm going to read you this one because it's important. He had more vision than I did. When he wrote this, he was 17 years old. Okay? It was a year before he graduated from high school, and then he did move out. Mom, it seems we aren't able to talk. Something had happened at Christmas that year, and it was real sad. It really was. It hurt both of my children. Now, my third child, that is a discussion for another time, but we are going to talk about that and what happened with him. He's still alive. He still calls me Mom. He's still around, but I did not completely raise him, and there were reasons for that. Okay, here's what Matt wrote. Mom, it seems we aren't able to talk. So I decided to write you a letter to start things off a little easier. It's hard to read. I figure that this way you know where I'm coming from before we start talking. Oh, he knew his mother. Number 1, I love you very much. Now you talk about smart. That is smart. If you're getting ready to tell somebody some things that you figured they're not going to like everything you say, but you tell them right off the bat that you love them with all your heart and you underline it and you exclamation mark it. That is smart. This was a 17-year-old boy that wrote this to me. I know what I did was the wrong way to handle it, but you angered a lot. I had a temper. But I was working on it at that time in my life. I was working on it. Now, Matt didn't really understand all that yet, but he did later. Okay. So he says, and I had to get out. So obviously we had a fight or a disagreement, and he had left. Now, both of my children, I had told them I would buy them their first car, and I did. Now with Matt, we had a little problem with that, but I ended up getting him one that did run, and I have a lot of funny stories about that, but I'm not going to get into those right now. He says, number 2, I'm not taking any frustrations from Dad out on you or Rachel. The fact that he's pulled this crap does anger me, but not to the extent that you believe it does. At all. Period. I'm not going to put his father down, but there were times when my children were growing up and I was divorced from them, that some things happened that hurt my children. It really did. It hurt them. Even though I know that their father loved him, loved both of them very, very much, but he didn't know how to be a good father. What can I say? Remember, we don't get any kind of training for parenthood. Not really. Okay? Now, number 3. I do need to move out. I don't think it's all that feasible. Let's face it, Dad's not, and it's underlined, capital letters, an option, which means I don't have very many others. But I think it's clear I can't live with you much longer, or Rachel. It's affecting me a lot more than you probably realize. He was right. But here's the sad part. I wasn't totally listening. I didn't totally understand. When we did have our talk, I didn't get into it with him like I probably wish I would have. I didn't ask him, well, Matt, please tell me what you mean when you say that to me. I didn't do that. I did not do that. But one thing I did do was I tried to listen the best I could at the time. I really did. And we did get a few things worked out. We really did. He didn't have to move out. I didn't want my child to move out, not so quick. He wasn't ready yet. At least I didn't think he was. Okay, and then the 4th thing, this is amazing. You and Rachel need to get closer. I see this starting to happen, but you both need more of this. As the years have passed, I've seen Rachel left out a lot. It's hurt her. There's a lot to be mended. 17 years old. He was right. There's a lot to be mended. Still does. My daughter and I do not have what I would call a very good relationship. And sometimes it's, I don't have him anymore. And I have another son that I don't see hardly ever. I don't hear from. And frankly, I don't hear from my daughter very much either. Now, we keep in contact. I talk about the girls on Google+. I show their videos. But let's talk about something that's very, very important. Before we do that, I want to get something. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to do this. And I need my cane because my feet are not working properly. I'll be right back. I promise. I'll just keep it on for a minute. Yep, this is my cane. How do you like it? Huh? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm very thin. Yes, I am. But here's my cane. We'll set it over there for now. Did you think that I could just walk without any problems at all? Nah, afraid not. Okay, this is a book called The Mental Equivalent. Okay, it's by Emmett Fox. All right, let me read you a couple things out of this because it all ties in. And I want to tell you when it was written, or actually, It was 2 lectures that he gave back in 1953. 60 years ago. 1953. I wasn't even born yet. Almost. I believe I was conceived, but I wasn't born yet. Okay. Let me read you some things that he wrote. And it's right in the beginning. Well, he didn't write this. He actually lectured about this. Alright, he said here, judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment. You know what that's from? That's from the Bible. So when we see the appearance of evil, we look through it to the truth that lies back of it. You ever do that? Do you ever look back to the truth? Another concept, isn't it? Something I bet you haven't heard of before or haven't heard in a long time. As soon as we see this truth and see it spiritually, the appearance changes. Because this is a mental world. Mental. Eyes, nose, mouth, mind, mental world. He's saying it's not a spiritual world. Okay? That's what I'm getting from this. Alright, now let me continue. Now most people do not know this. They think it is a material world. And that is why humanity has so many problems. After 19 centuries of, now it's more than 19, it's 20 centuries, of formal Christianity, the world is passing through desperate difficulties. 60 years ago. Huh? How about that? Okay? We know that we live in a mental world, and to know that is the key to life. If you know that, and you have a key to life, and we're going to get into this a little more. If a child could be taught only one thing, it should be taught that this is a mental world. I would let all the other things go and teach them that. Well, there's a reason for this. Let's see now. I'm going to continue with this a little bit. Okay. We all have habits of thought and action, and we all have business, family, and personal conditions we would like to be rid of. If we rid our minds of the mental equivalent of them, they must go. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Everything that you see or feel on the material plane, whether it is your body, your home, your business, or your city, is but the expression in the concrete of a mental equivalent held by you. You know, they've done movies about this concept. They really have. They didn't get it from Emmett. Emmett isn't the only one who has thought of these things, trust me. So everything in your city is the embodiment of mental equivalents held by the citizens. Everything in your country is the embodiment of mental equivalents held by the people of the country. And the state of the world embodies the mental equivalent of the billions of people who make up the world. How about that? Then he talks about war. And he says, what about war? That is the physical expression of a mental equivalent held by the human race. The human race has believed in the old bogey of fear. Fear. It is believed that you can enrich yourself by taking something belonging to someone else. It is believed in death. It is believed in lack. It has believed that aggression pays, and that helping yourself to other people's things is a good policy. We have all believed this in some degree. The natural result of this has been to precipitate in the outer a picture of war, death, suffering, and so on, because humanity had the mental equivalent of war, and the war came. Now let's stop right there and talk about this a little bit. So if my mental equivalent is I want money, and that's more important to me than anything else, what do you think is going to happen? I'm probably going to get it, one way or another, okay? If I have placed money as my most important mental equivalent, I'm probably going to get it. Well, let me tell you something that I learned a while back, and it's almost funny, really, when I stop and think about it today. Many, many years ago, when I was beginning my training in spiritual development, one of my assignments was to write down my priorities in life. Now, I can't remember exactly what I wrote, but I'm pretty sure it went something like this. My children, my job, my home, a lot of physical stuff, let me tell you, a lot of material, a lot of mental equivalent things. Now, it was almost funny because my advisor said, okay, now I'm going to teach you something different. And they said, where do you come into this picture? And I thought to myself, where do I come into this picture? Good question. Where am I at in that list? I don't even think I was in the list, okay? Well, here's how my list goes now. I put God, and me together as number one. Okay? Let me explain something. First of all, God is definitely going to be number one for me. But I have to be up there too. Because if I'm not number one in the picture, if I don't take care of me, I'm no good to anybody. I'm no good to those children. I'm no good to those grandchildren. I'm no good to anybody. To my parents who are still alive, hanging on by a thread, but still alive. I'm no good to my siblings. I have got to be spiritually number one with God. I have got to be. Now, I had to learn this. And you know, here's how I had to learn it. First of all, I had to learn to love me. And I talked about that before. And one of the ways that we learn how to love is to go look in the mirror and say, I am loved. For 2 weeks, every day we do that. I am loved. And then after we do that, we go back to that mirror, and for another 2 or 3 weeks we say, and I am loved by God. Because we have to believe this in our hearts. We can't just say it. We have to believe it in our souls, in our hearts, in our minds, in every part of us. Okay? Now, the second thing on my list, my children, the ones that are left, and my son who transitioned. He's on that list. I know he's fine. I know he's taken care of. But he is still on that list. I love him with all my heart and soul. And I've been crying off and on today. And tomorrow I don't want to think about tomorrow. I have to stay in today. I got to stay right here, right now. That's the other little spiritual thing that I learned. Stay right here, right now. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Who does? God, but not me. Okay, now, my rest of my family's probably third on my list. Yeah. Now, money isn't on my list. If I say shelter, that's what I want, shelter. I know that God is going to provide all my needs. And I can tell you all about that. I know because I have lived it. Even when I didn't believe there was a God. Yeah. There was a time that I absolutely did not really believe that there could be a God. I guess it was a little carryover of my father's viewpoints. You know, that's the whole point right there. We don't realize what we're doing to our children. And we better start realizing. Because our children are the key to our future as a human race. We better start thinking about what we're doing with these children, how we're raising them, what they're capable of, believing that there is a soul and that they have one, and maybe, just maybe, we're not helping that soul at all. Not at all. Maybe we need to step aside. Step aside. Now it's getting late. We're in the 40 minutes. I'm going to cut it short right now, but I'm far from done. Much, much more must be said, must be written about what we need to do for our future generations, because they are the key to our humanity, and we need to wake up. Get your head out of your games. Get your head back into your family, into those children, and have some faith. Have faith that all your needs will be taken care of, no matter what's going on in the world today. Have faith. Have a great day. I love y'all. That's why I'm doing it.